Kerry Jones.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's podcast. So for each episode, I'm always looking to up the game and occasionally doing something different. And this week is one of those episodes. For this week's guest is known for his cooking ability, specialising in fish. And over the last 2 years or so, he has hit social media by storm and aiming to cook every fish in the world. With over 5 million views and just over 500,000 followers on Instagram alone. Although he has fished since a small boy in Slovenia, Croatia and Germany, he only recently has taken up fly fishing and shares with us some of his advice and knowledge of cooking trout, perch and grayling. Welcome to my chat with fish sommelier and spanker, Andrej Urosevic. Hi Andrej, and welcome to the podcast, and thanks for coming on to chat.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here.
I'm looking forward to this chat because we've been on about it for a couple of weeks, and we've known each other for probably a year ago. I think we chatted first, when I was the editor of the Fly Fishing Journal, and you did a fantastic piece for us.
It sounds about right. Yeah, it must have been a year ago, and then we. Thank you for that, by the way, for giving me the chance to contribute.
Well, it was
good fun.
It was totally different to what I think anglers expected, and it went down really well. And I understand,
really?
I can see why, is because at the time you had this Instagram channel which was doing really well, and I think you had about 80,000 at the time followers, and it's a lot happened since the last 12 months, hasn't it?
Yeah, you might say that. Yes, I filleted a couple of fishies since we last spoke. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've actually looked at the numbers, and you've got 5 million views and over 500,000 followers. And just to let everyone know, your goal is to cook every fish in the world. Is that right?
Yes, and not only to cook it, but also to slap it.
Yeah,
because ultimately, that's what the people want. People want to see, fish getting slapped.
Yeah,
yeah, it is what it is. So that's the world we live in.
So you're an experienced slapper, now then.
Oh, there's a technique to it, my dear friend. There is, yeah.
I know. I can tell you something about that in a minute, actually.
I'm sure you can.
So you've done at the moment 56. Different recipes, is that right? Different fish, then.
That's correct. 56. So 50. I've done 56 fish. A couple of more recipes because some fish some fish are so interesting and so inspiring sometimes that I just do a couple of 3 recipes on one fish. Right. So as it so happens, I just finished shooting fish. Episode number 57 today. And that's going to be absolutely banging. I can't disclose what it is because it's a collab with another company, but it's a banger. Right.
So yeah, I guess you've got a list what you're going to do. Do you know how many fish there are?
36,775 species as of based on Eschmar's catalogue of fishes as of February 2024.
Well, it'll keep it going for a couple of years then.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I think if I did one fish every day until I complete the mission, I would need, I think, 102 years and 7 months. And more species are just being discovered, like, daily.
I've noticed you've done some wacky ones as well, like, dare I say, goldfish.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would take. To be honest, I know you're a fisherman as well, but we'll come to that in a minute. I've started seeing this girl, right? And when I mentioned I was going to chat with you on this podcast, she said, "Oh, the fish daddy." Right? She did, yeah.
Yes.
And she said, I'm going to quote now, "Your filleting and spanking of fish is sensual and sexy," she said, right? Now, is this intentional?
I told you to hold on to her. She's a keeper.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I think a lot of your followers probably are women, I guess. And is this intentional? You wanted to give cooking or fish a sexy twist?
Do you want not really? I mean, do you want this is going to come as a shock. But you're in for a surprise. Only 85% of my followers are men, and only 15 or 16% are women.
Wow. Well, that surprised me.
So, well, look, it wasn't really intentional. I'm going to demystify this whole thing by simply saying it's what the people want to see and what the algorithm responds to. So leading up to the Cooking Every Fish in the World series, which I started in March 2024, so about 9 months ago, I'll get to how it all came about in a minute. So basically, leading up to that, I had produced about, I think, 35 fish cooking videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sort of I had started 5 months prior. So just over a year ago, I set out my Instagram, influencer journey. I had, I think, 500 followers, or close to zero, actually. So it was mainly, friends, family, and people I owed money to that were following me. And I just started posting fish cookery videos. I didn't know the first thing about editing to begin with. So I downloaded an editing app and, taught myself how to do it. So it took about 5 months until 5 months. So 5 months in, I realized that during this time, I went from about 1,000 followers to, I think, 30,000-ish.
Wow.
And by far, my most viral video was one where I slapped a Dover sole.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, perhaps there's something to it. And when I shot the first episode of Cooking Every Fish in the World, it so happened that I was cooking a brill, which happens to be a flatfish. So I slapped the bugger. I slapped the living hell out of that one. And people went mad in the comments. And I thought, well, I reckon there's my hook. The people I've spoken. And there you go. It's like, I only respond to the market.
It's entertainment.
It wasn't something I aspired to, or
something that happened.
Yeah, it just happened organically.
I don't know how you can manage to keep up with messages, because that, when you're talking like thousands of people liking and commenting a post, it must be awful hard to keep up.
It really depends, Kerry. It really depends. So on a daily basis, so when I wake up in the morning, I pour myself a nice cup of coffee, I sit down and I give myself about 45 minutes on the socials to check all my DMs, check on the comments and interact with the audience. So, and I try to respond to every single comment. Now, it's been several 100,000 comments thus far. However, I just met my master a couple of days ago. The last video I posted was a Bengali recipe. I tried to cook a Bengali shad type fish, a very traditional recipe which I sort of modified, in my style. And the audience, the ethnic audience, they are going mad. I'm just waiting for death threats. Apparently, um, I committed high treason by cooking this fish in a different way. And when you read the comments, it's a deluge of admonition and just scolding reviews and remarks and just.
But everyone's allowed to have
I'm
their own
fighting
twist
it.
on something.
I'm fighting it, and it's like I'm telling you, mate. It's been thousands. I think in the last 2 days, I got like 3,500 comments on this video alone, and I can't possibly respond to all of them. It's impossible. I think I'm just going to record I think I might just go ahead and record a story where I apologize to the nation of Bengal and ask for forgiveness. I mean, it's just I just have to admit that I fucked up. You know,
but this is good for your algorithm, isn't it? Because that's all Instagram and social media wants is.
Let me see, because it was sort of that video I posted, I think 3 weeks ago, just before Christmas, and it was just like sort of, it was just sort of bobbing along. Nothing was happening really. It hadn't been picked up by the algorithm, and only a couple of days ago it started going mad. And now we are, where are we? I mean, it's not doing terribly well. It's just gone up above 850,000 views. So, you know, just for reference, 850,000 views after a month is sort of below average, but it's picking up. So we'll see what's going to happen. Yeah.
The thing is, as well, you know, you're becoming recognised now. You're becoming like a celebrity status. I guess the next stage for you then, possibly, is television.
I would love to. I would actually love to. To be fair, this is sort of the end goal. Hopefully one day.
But there's two things I need to congratulate you on as well.
Oh, shit.
The recent things you've done is one, you've been in the Times, haven't you? The newspaper. I have, haven't I? Yes. How did that come about?
Thank you, sir. Out of the blue. Literally a few days before Christmas, this super lovely editor, Emma, sends me a message. And she was like, "Hi, my name is Emma. I'm an editor at the Times. I'm legit. Don't worry. Here are my credentials. I would love to do a piece on your Cooking Every Fish in the World series." And I was like, well, I mean, I'm not going to say no to the bloody Times, am I? So I was like, yeah, sure. And then a couple of days later, she rocks up at my place with their photographer. At this point, I was getting a bit curious. I was getting sort of, something was right, because why would you bring along your photographer? I was expecting the tiniest of articles. And then she was like, "Oh yes, by the way, it's going to be the page 3 article. I just didn't want you to be sort of overly excited and sort of anxious about it." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Right. Page 3. Johnny wasn't a son.
Mission successfully failed. But it was so much fun. I never knew that being interviewed by the Times could be that you could have such a blast, because the people were both Emma and I think Richard, the photographer's name. They were just in such a good mood, and we were vibing, and we were actually slapping fish. A friend of mine, so Alex from he's an old friend of mine who owns the Fin and Bone fishmongers in Fulham in London, and I was a bit short on fish, so he did an impromptu delivery and got me a lovely hake, a huge salmon, and then we had some fish to slap for the photo shoot. So that was really good fun.
You know these videos you do then, or these reels, how long would they take?
Oh, mate, from start to finish, or just the film?
Yeah, no, I know it's people don't realize how long it takes to shoot something and then to edit it.
Okay, so I'm going to dispel any idea of romanticism about shooting content, cookery content. So here's what happens. You need about 4 to 5 full days for one single piece of content.
Wow.
So I need 1 day to to source the fish, because I'm at a point where I've cooked most commercially, most fish that are readily available commercially. So sometimes it's very difficult to source new fish. So I have to get up early in the mornings, 4 a.m., go to Billingsgate, or have Alex from the Fin and Bone tell me what's available the next day. So sourcing, and then so you source the fish, you get the fish, and then you have to come up with a recipe, right? Because I try to cook different recipes, a different recipe for every new episode. So sometimes, which basically means you have to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
So you get the fish, you do a lot of research on, what might be interesting for your audience, what's trending. You do a lot of research on the socials, see what other creators might be doing at that point in time. There are always trending recipes you sometimes want to sort of latch onto, or they're recipes you've always wanted, you've wanted to do, or you've always been wanting to do, and then now you've got now's the right time because you've got the right fish for it. So basically that takes a lot of time. Then you have to do a trial run. So you test cook your recipe. You go through all the steps. You imagine, the steps, the frames, angles, etc., and then the final presentation. Because again, I have to come up with a completely new type of presentation for every. When I say presentation, I mean plating for every new video. So that's 2 days in, full-on days in. And then day 3 is the shoot. Now, I finished a video shoot today. I started at, I think, 9 a.m. this morning. And I think I switched off my camera around 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish. So that's about 6 to 7 hours. That's a good average. And then day 4 is my editing day. Now, editing, I love editing, but it's really, really, really time consuming. So I've done videos in 8 or 9 hours, but generally it takes me well over 10 or 12 hours to get my to get to the final edit. And then when you post, you still have to write the descriptions, and then you have to find trending audio, which is a bitch. This is probably the single most loathsome part of the entire process. You have to find a trending bit of audio on Instagram, and their library is vast. Basically, that's very time consuming, finding good audio, and then you have to sort of align your frames with the music, so the cadence is aligned. Then you post, and then the next day it's back to square one.
And all this for, is it 3 minutes?
Up to 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Instagram lets you post content up to 90 seconds in length.
I think you can get carried away, can you, doing different social media platforms, and you're trying to work out which is best and what to do. I think I've gone tired now. I just do what I want to do. And if it works, it works. I think you can concentrate too much of what they want you to do, isn't it? And fit into the analytics. And I think it's a whole new job, another job, which you don't really want to do. Concentrate on what you're good at, doesn't it?
Well, it is what it is. I mean, hopefully one day I will grow my channel to a size where I can afford a social media manager or someone who I can, I can entrust all those menial everyday tasks, such as finding audio, responding to comments, etc., etc. But on the other hand, responding to comments is sort of, I don't know, it's sort of like what's the word I'm looking for here? It's the essence of what it is you're doing, because the comments are the only tangible feedback you get. And that helps you in deciding, in figuring out whether you are on the right track or not. For instance, I know for certain that I should stay clear of cooking Bengali food. I value my life too much.
I love Indian food. I absolutely love it.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's like when you open my fridge, it's all like pre-made curries and I'm actually having Goan curry yellowtail tonight.
I'm going to have to say I love Indian food because I don't want all the hate mail you're having.
Mate, it's the best. Indian food is the best.
Yeah.
End of story. And I'm trained in classic French cuisine, and it took me a long time to accept that Italian food and Italian cuisine is, up there with French cuisine. It took me a really long time. And I mean, I've always admired Japanese food and Japanese. I'm from Düsseldorf, Germany, which has a huge Japanese expat community and arguably the best Japanese food scene in all of Europe. So yeah, Japanese food for me is something I couldn't live without. But ever since moving to London, like 4 years ago, I've completely become addicted to Indian food. It's not even funny anymore. So good times. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Yeah.
Kerry,
Well, something I wanted to chat to you about is you are the only fish sommelier in the UK. Am I right in saying that?
As far as I'm aware, correct.
And tell me more about what it is.
Well, just imagine, what a wine sommelier is.
Yeah, it's like a specialist then, is it?
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. So a wine sommelier learns about grapes, varieties, terroir, regions where specific wines are made and where they're from. Wine pairings, and then they learn about wine pairings and the history of wine and like anything that's to do with wine. And basically, you may translate that to what I did to get this specialized certificate, which as fish sommelier. I did that last year in Germany.
So that's where you're from, isn't it? You're from Düsseldorf. Sorry? German is your first language as well, then, yeah?
Correct. That's my first mother tongue, and my second mother tongue is Serbian. So my family, my mother and my father, they were from what was then, former Yugoslavia, and they actually met in Germany. They moved to Germany, I think, in the 50s or 60s, something like that. And they met in Germany, got married. I was born in Germany, and grew up there.
Before we go into the fishing, there's a couple more questions I want to ask on your cooking. If I remember right, when we chatted the other day, you said you were trained fishmonger. How did you start off with the cooking?
So rewind to my late 20s. I had conventional corporate career before that. I had gone to uni, got my master's, yada yada yada. Almost killed myself because that's not the life. It was a very difficult period in my life because I'm not the academic type, so I kind of muddled through. It wasn't going anywhere. At that point, I was like, you know what? I'll just burn all bridges and move to Paris, go to culinary school. I went to Le Cordon Bleu, did the Grand Diplôme, so French cuisine and French pastry. Did a few internships at some specialized Michelin star fish and seafood restaurants. I'd always been into fish and fishing and cooking fish, but like merely as a hobby, prior to that time. And then I moved back to Germany, to my hometown of Düsseldorf, and opened a restaurant, Andrej's Oyster Bar and Restaurant. I did not cook myself, however. I was running the front of the house. I was in charge of, logistics, customer relations, and basically running the whole shindig at the front. And I had what is, in my opinion, the best chef in all of Germany, Claudia Schröter. Amazing cook and chef. And she stood by me for 4.5 years. And she was in charge of the kitchen. And we were pretty successful. We filleted and cooked and flambéed an obscene amount of crustaceans, fish, oysters, and what have you. It was amazing. And so fast forward 2018, I think I got a decent offer to sell the restaurant. So I did. And then COVID came. So that time sort of went by in a haze. And then a month before Brexit became reality, I moved to London. And that's it. So November 2020, I moved to London to help this friend I mentioned before, Alex, set up Fin and Bone, the fishmonger in Fulham.
Oh, right.
So I did that. I turned a new leaf, turned a new chapter, and began my sort of apprenticeship, if you will, as fishmonger. I stayed at Fin and Bone for, I think, almost a year. And then I went on to another place called the Fin and Flounder on the Broadway Market in Hackney, where they taught me taught me a level of skill that I'm at now. So basically I was fortunate enough to be trained by probably the best filleter we have in London, Marcus, an unbelievably talented fishmonger. So basically, he taught me how to fillet. It was super good fun. And that was until a year and a half ago. And that's when I decided to become a content creator.
If you're enjoying this podcast and want to listen to more, please consider becoming a patron, where you will get weekly episodes and access to over 200 episodes and exclusive content. Visit patreon.com/casting with Kelly Jones. Plus this year I am guiding full-time on Lough Corrib in Ireland. To book a day, visit my website, thecorrib.com.
So yes, 2018, I decided to take up fly fishing, a pivotal moment in my life. I went to Iceland, I went to Australia, did a little bit of here, a little bit of there. I even went to Scotland for a week, salmon fishing on the River Spey, absolutely amazing. And I spent about 250 days fishing and exploring my home beat in Düsseldorf on the River Rhine.
Right.
That was amazing. But in between those travels, I went to Slovenia, took up fly fishing, and absolutely fell in love with it. I mean, it's the real thing, isn't it?
I've never been to Slovenia. A few of my friends have been, and it's known for grayling, and they got the marble trout.
Oh, yeah. Oh, mate, they've got everything. So I caught, in that first 3 days, I caught a lovely grayling, brown trout and rainbows, caught a chub, pretty sizable one at that, and the marble trout as well, the marmorata.
So you've been relatively new in the last, 2018, what's that, 5, 6, 7? The last 7 years or so, you've been fly fishing, but you've been you've been a fisherman since a young boy. Was it your dad?
Angler, yes. First memories of my life were when I was fishing for gobies and gudgeons and blennies in Croatia via hand line.
And you still go back to the Rhine, do you, to fish?
All the time. It's my happy place.
It's a big river, isn't it? I've never been, obviously.
It's a mighty river. I think it's Europe's second widest and largest river, I think, after the Danube. You've got everything in there. Like, I caught a 1.50 meter Welsh catfish last year on a size 4 spinnerbait. I was fishing for big perch and caught a bloody catfish. But you've got everything.
Well, I guess now you were living in Fulham, is that right? So there's not too many places to go fishing. So where would you be likely to go your local water then now?
What really gets me excited every time is going to Hampshire and attack those chalk streams, which are absolutely pristine. It's just a gorgeous experience.
The Test and Itchen.
Test, Itchen, Diva, Anton, and what else? Yeah, those are the 4 I've fished so far.
Yeah, it's very visual then, isn't it? You see your fish, you stalk it, and it's like what fishing is about.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't drive, I don't own a car, so it's a bit of faff to get there. I need to get to a train station and take the train to Winchester, and then call an Uber to take to the beat, and then so that's so you're already, I don't know how many pounds in on commute, and then you have to pay the rod license, it's not cheap. The day ticket, which is prohibitingly expensive.
the grayling there, it can be a good sport because obviously, again, and the trout, you can see them. And I noticed on one of the reels you put up, you were catching grayling and you cooked them. Now, a lot of people, over the years I've been to different places, Sweden especially, they love to eat the grayling. But over here in the UK, you're allowed to keep 2 a day, I think, if I remember right. But a lot of anglers here, it's quite big, especially in the winter time now, grayling fishing. Now, I gotta be honest, I'm not a big lover of actual fish. There are some which I eat, but I much prefer, to be honest, if I had a choice, steak or something, But something I want to pick your brains now is because a lot of the time...
Kerry, full disclosure, I know people are listening, but, might as well admit to it. Of all the fish, my favourite fish is a rack of lamb with mint sauce.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
it is what it is, brother.
I'm the same. And I learned a lesson, and you'll be able to either shed some light on this. I remember I went fly fishing for bass down West Wales, and I was doing a feature for the magazine. And the feature was to catch a bass on the fly. And we had a disposable barbecue, and we cooked it there on the spot, And so I had this fish must have been a good 2 pound anyway. And,
nice.
And then we literally, straight away, we stopped fishing. We got the barbecue out, and we cooked it, right? And I was so disappointed. It was flavourless. Now, I've spoken to 1 or 2 chefs over the years since, and they said, most sea fish, you really want to eat them the next day. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. Not only the next day. On average, sea fish gets in its prime, culinary prime, after day 3 or beginning.
All right.
On day 3, especially Dover sole. But because fish first need to go through rigor mortis, the tissue needs to relax and flavors have to develop. So there is such a thing as too fresh fish. So when you buy fish for fish handlers and fishmongers, obviously you want the freshest fish possible because you are more concerned about the use by date and the fish's shelf life, right? So from a commercial point of view, you want the freshest fish, if possible, twitching if possible, right? But from a culinary point of view, you want fish that have gone through that process of let's call it enzymatic decay, but like the onset of enzymatic decay when things start breaking up within the body and start developing flavor. So yes, I had the very similar. My first eye opener was 12 years ago. I think I was with my then girlfriend in Florida, and we caught a little tunny. So it's a fish that's related to real tuna, but it belongs to the bonito, the bonito family. Anyway.
Nice.
We caught it, killed it, bled it, popped it in an ice slurry, brought it back home, and when we proceeded to cook it the very next day, I think, and it was absolutely flavorless, insipid even.
Yeah.
So there's nothing worth mentioning about that that eating experience, and I realized that fish can be too fresh.
Yeah.
So yes, it's your experience with your sea bass is not too uncommon.
Something which I do a lot, like I go to Ireland a lot, and it's very much a traditional thing when you're on the lake, on the lough. You go in for lunch and you make a fire and you get the pan out. And sometimes you cook a steak every time I go, I kill 1 fish a year. And that is to eat. So next year when I go, I'm going to kill 1 trout, right? The first trout I get, I'm going to take my pan, light the fire. What would you do? And I'll actually do this.
Very, very interesting question because I'm trying to figure that out myself now as we speak, because I'm going to Slovenia in a few weeks and I want to do a catch and cook by the river.
Yeah.
with that beautiful Slovenian nature as backdrop. So the problem is I won't have time to catch a fish, dispatch it humanely. I generally apply ikejime, where I spike the head and then I sever the neural cord and let it rest for at least a couple of days in the fridge. I won't have time to do that. I'll have to do that on the spot, which means my huchen, if I catch one, is going to be too fresh as well. So now I have to come up with a recipe. I'll probably fillet it because it has to, spank it. You need to tenderize the fish first. So spank it. And then I'll probably do 2 episodes. So I might just light a fire and barbecue. So not barbecue, like charcoal, grill it over charcoal. So one side of the fish, and probably, I don't know, make a sandwich with it. I have no idea. And then episode 2, I'm thinking I'll use the other side of the fish, and I'm thinking gravlax.
All right.
Cure it. Normally, you want 3 days for gravlax, but perhaps I can come up with a quick cure. I have a couple of friends who are Michelin star chefs who've done similar things before and worked out recipes that might work. So this is a work in progress, but I'll keep you in the loop. As soon as I have an answer, I'll give it to you.
We'll have to do a little video together. We'll fish one day and we'll
absolutely
do it. Give you an idea of what I done on the last time, something a bit different. It's quite basic, but I normally take 2 pans, and in the one pan I'll do the mushrooms, onions, peppers. So get them going, and then I'll fry the trout, and then I'll take the meat off the trout, and once it's fried and it's done, and I mix it all together, and I add double cream then with some beans, green beans, and potatoes. Obviously, there's potatoes with it then.
Obviously.
Yeah. So it's something nice to do, but I'll be keeping an eye out for what you do in Slovenia.
I mean, double cream is always an option. Yeah. That and butter. You can't really cook without butter.
Oh, a lot of butter.
One thing someone just recently noticed, finally, that my cooking channel is actually a butter cooking channel. Fish just happen to be used in every video. It's like I can't imagine cooking without butter.
But the other thing I wanted to ask you then is
sir.
Very few people would eat grayling here, but it's something we're trying. So what would you, because apparently I can't smell it, right? But a lot of anglers, they say once you've handled a grayling, it smells of a cucumber. Well, I can't smell it, right?
Oh,
but right. I'm wondering, I should look back on your videos. What did you do when you cooked grayling?
Well, here's the thing. So part of taxonomy law is that Carl Linnaeus, who gave the grayling its binominal name, Timalus, he found that the smell of fresh grayling was very similar to fresh thyme, hence the name. I think so. I did the grayling video a couple of months ago at Lainston House in Hampshire with Chef Phil Yeomans, who's the head chef at their cooking school. Great, great fun as well. And we took the fish. I caught the fish. We took the fish. We cleaned the fish, and we realized, yes, there is actually something to it. There is a very, very, very subtle smell of thyme. But funny, you should mention cucumbers, because that applies to drum roll smelt. If you ever come across fresh smelt, stick your nose in it and you'll realize they smell deceptively of cucumber. I actually made a video, I think it was episode 6. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to deep fry smelt and just stick them in a cucumber martini.
Martini?
Yeah, martini. So I made a cucumber martini and served it instead of a dirty martini with olives.
Yeah.
I served it with deep fried smelt on the skewer. It was pretty good actually. Anyway, and then also fresh salmon. The inside of a fresh salmon smell of melon.
I hope everyone who's listening will probably agree with me. Wild salmon is far superior to farm salmon, which is a naughty word in the fishing world at the moment. Another thing which is popular as well is perch. I've known people to barbecue perch, but it's bony, isn't it?
I haven't done it on the show, but I've caught many. So that's one of the fish species I specialize in as angler in Germany on the Rhine.
Right.
And I target 45 centimeter plus perch. So those
perch.
weigh. So we're talking, was it 1.5? So about 3 pounds plus.
Oh, at least. At least.
I'm terrible with the imperial system. And mate, I kid you not, a big river perch dusted with flour and cooked à la meunière, as you would a Dover sole, is in fact the closest thing you'll get to a bloody Dover sole. It's uncanny, yes. And they're also very good as fish and chips, but just dusted with flour on both sides, pan-fried, shallow fried in butter, and then basted with batter, aromatics, a splash of lemon juice, a little bit of chopped parsley, perhaps even deglaze a whole lot with a dash of white wine, and just you are in heaven. It's I think the tastiest freshwater fish we have in Europe.
Because not only you obviously know your stuff, you're very creative in the presentation as well. That must take a lot of time because I remember when you did the grayling, the dorsal fin was up, wasn't it?
Dude, I came up with that recipe, that presentation on the spot. It just came to me.
Because it's quite a feature.
That's one of the very few things that are actually mine, original, because most of the time when I say I'm gathering inspiration, I'm just going around stealing recipes from other chefs. I mean, I always credit them in the descriptions, but I'm not a very creative person. So most of my recipes, I bloody nick.
Have you got any goals, you can say, for the coming year, the season even, for the fishing goals and maybe for your cooking?
I try not to plan ahead too much, but my most immediate goal would be to land that bloody hutchin, that elusive bugger that's been on my to-do list for such a long time. I mean, I've caught hutchin before, but never a sizable one that I would have been allowed to, take and cook. So hopefully that's going to happen within a couple of weeks. I'm just jumping from one recipe to the next. I just want to grow this channel. I want to reach 1 million followers this year.
I can see that.
So you could say I'm just past midway. I want to get to 1 million. I want to get hopefully a cookbook published. That would be would be epic.
Well, I hope sometime in the next year or two we'll maybe get together and we'll do some fishing and cooking on the same day. That would be nice.
Absolutely. We should do that.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the chat and I know you're a busy man. Well, there's one more question I want to ask you.
Yes.
I ask everyone. Yes. Where would you want to be to make your last
in Croatia.
cast?
It's a twofold answer.
You knew I was going to...
I've been thinking, I've been giving this some thought. So my happy place is, if you ever come with me to Germany, I'll show you my favorite spot on the Rhine River, but the water level really needs to be at below 180, 170 centimeters. It's very specific. And then anything goes. And the other cast would probably be on the rocks on that island in Croatia where I caught my first blenny, 2 ounce 3. And it wouldn't be a cast, it would be a throw because I'll be fishing with a hand line.
Well, many thanks, Andrej.
Thank you so much, Kerry. That was really exciting. I was really enjoying this podcast. Thank you so much, Kerry, for having me.
If you've enjoyed this podcast and want to listen to more, please consider becoming a Patreon, where you'll get weekly podcasts and access to over 200 episodes, behind-the-scenes photography to go with each episode, plus other exclusive content and prizes. To become a Patreon, visit patreon.com casting with Kerry Jones. Or you can find the link on my website, castingwithkerryjones.com. That's all for now. Tight lines, and may they always be up in the wave.